Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Srimad Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Nitya Gaura Premanande Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning on Ekadashi. So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23, Devahuti's Lamentation, Text 55. Sangoya samsritir hetur. Sangoya samsritir hetur. Asatso vihitodiya. Asatso vihitodiya. Sa eva sadhushu krita. Sa eva sadhushu krita. Nisangat vaya kalpate. Nisangat vaya kalpate. Sangoya samsmritir hetur. Asatsu vihitodiya. Sa eva sadhushu krita. Nisangatvaya kalpate. Sangoya samsmritir hetur. Asatsu vihitodiya. Sa eva sadhushu krita. Nisangatvaya kalpate. Sangoya samsmritir hetur. Satsu vihitodiya. Sa eva sadhushu krita. Sangatvaya kalpate. Sadhushu krita. Sangatvaya kalpate. Mataji's. Samsmitir hetur. Asatsu vihitodiya. Seva sadhushu krita. Sangatvaya kalpate. Towards Sangaha, association, Yaha, which, Samsmriti, of the cycle of birth and death, Hetuhu, the cause, Asatsu, with those engaged in sense gratification, Vihitaha, done, Adiya, through ignorance, Saha, the same thing, Eva, certainly, Sadhushu, with saintly persons, Kritaha, performed, Nisangatvaya, to liberation, Kalpate, leads. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Acharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage, but the same type of association performed with a saintly person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. Purport. The association of a saintly person in any way bears the same result. For example, Lord Krishna met many kinds of living entities, and some treated him as an enemy, and some treated him as an agent for sense gratification. It is generally said that the gopis were attached to Krishna for sense attractions, and yet they became first-class devotees of the Lord. Kamsa, Shishupal, Dantavakra, and other demons, however, were related to Krishna as enemies. But whether they associated with Krishna as enemies or for sense gratification, out of fear or as pure devotees, they all got liberation. That is the result of association with the Lord. Even if one does not understand who he is, the results have the same efficacy. Association with a great saintly person also results in liberation, just as whether one gets toward fire knowingly or unknowingly, the fire will make one warm. Devahuti expressed her gratefulness, for although she wanted to associate with Kardama Muni only for sense gratification, because he was spiritually great, she was sure to be liberated by his benediction. Om Jnanatimrandasya Grananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadameyam Dadati Svabadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sakrachatam Sahaganaragunatan Vitam Tam Sachevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamshta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhyabha Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for coming this morning. So we have been hearing of the pastimes leading up to the appearance of Lord Kapiladev, which is one of the main important sections in Srimad Bhagavatam, which will fill up then the rest of the third canto, his instructions to Mother Devahuti. So far we have been hearing how Kardama Muni, as a great saint and devotee, was completely renounced, but on the order of his father, Lord Brahma. He married Mother Devahuti, and then how he used his mystic power to induce himself to some passion to be able to fulfill the order and the desire of his wife to beget children. Used his mystic power to create this amazing palace in the air, and where they traveled for many years, and all those things we heard, and now towards the end of the chapter we are coming to, as the chapter title says, Mother Devahuti's lamentation, that she realized, although we know it's all pastime, of course she's a pure devotee, there's no question, otherwise why would the Lord have appeared as her son then a bit later on here. But to teach us, she's showing that she's expressing that she was only attached, as we hear in this verse, or in the purport explaining related to this verse, that she was attached to her husband only for sense gratification, by which she laments, she cheated herself, that she didn't take the real advantage of having a great devotee as a husband who can guide her, who can lead her on the way to liberation. We know real liberation is to become situated in pure devotional service in our constitutional position, in our loving relationship with the Lord. Svarupana Vyastiti, as we know. And so she felt herself cheated by herself as being attached in the wrong way to her husband. And so now finally she's humbly begging him to give her fearlessness, and which ultimately means to become a pure devotee, because otherwise, unless we are situated in our fully natural position, there will always be fear. If you'd take a fish out of the water and throw him on the land, no matter what nice things you give to him, he will be fearful, he will be anxious. So, that's why then he is blessing her then with Lord Kapiladev as her own son, who will instruct her. And and we hear in today's verse how association with pure devotees rather than association with sense gratification leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. So, as Ganesham Govinda Prabhu was very nicely on Friday, I think, talking on this topic of real knowledge, that generally we tend to think that knowledge means just using our intellect and studying something and then understanding some concepts, some facts, and thus we acquire knowledge. Yeah, that might be on the material platform, but it's not like that on the spiritual platform. Even though, yes, we are also supposed to use our intelligence, our mind to study the scriptures as far as we can, and especially to hear from authorities. But it's actually not about exercising simply our intellect and by our own efforts in this way acquiring knowledge. Rather it is, yes, we should use it, we should use everything, including our intelligence, but we have to understand that actually it's ultimately, like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was explaining in one class to us, that there's two ways of acquiring knowledge. One is through our personal endeavor, but that is only to show our will to Krishna, that yes, we want to understand you rather than being absorbed in Maya. And then more importantly, it's divine benediction. It's His mercy, His revealing ultimately Himself to us, because all knowledge, it's only at the end as useful as bringing us to this original position of us ourselves as spiritual beings, as pure devotees of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So, I was recently have been reading the famous Brahma Vimohan Lila, where the creator of this universe, Lord Brahma, the secondary creator, how he was, one time after the Agasura pastime, when Lord Krishna was out, when on that day when they went out in the early morning to have breakfast, not at home, but in the forest, where Krishna with all the cowboys, like Prabhupada says, they had a picnic. So, and then we know on that day, this demon who was the brother of Putana and Bakasura, two demons who previously had tried to kill Krishna, and of course who both were killed, but who, like Prabhupada explains in this purport today, who also in this way became recipients of the Lord's mercy, because whether you in any form you come in contact with them, with Krishna or his pure devotees, as we hear today here, you become benefited, you become an object of his mercy. And so much so, generally we know it's said when demons are killed by the Lord and they attain only impersonal liberation, to merge into his Brahmajyoti and his bodhidaya effulgence, which is not the ultimate liberation, because from there also eventually you have to fall down unless you realize your position as wanting to perform devotional service to the Lord. But in this cases we know they got even more mercy, that Putana, as Uddhava famously meditates on Krishna's mercy, how she even, till she came to poison him, that she received the supreme benediction of becoming elevated to Goloka Vrindavan in a relationship as a nurse for Krishna. And and on that day then Agasura, he was full of envy. I won't go into too much in the detail of the pastime, just briefly to get the context. How he was actually, I heard His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj explaining a bit on the point how to grasp how much envy this demon head, Aghasura, because he didn't understand that his two siblings were recipients of inconceivable mercy of the Lord, but rather he thought that they were such nice persons, like Putana going around killing all the babies, and this envious Krishna, he killed them so mercilessly, and so he was, and that shows us also how Maya deludes us in, like, that's obviously in an extreme way, but as long as we are absorbed in the Lord's illusory energy, when we are not fully absorbed in serving Him, then we become covered. And so in that case, he was, rather than appreciating what a great mercy he got, he thought that they were, Krishna is unfair, they were so nice, and so he had such great envy. Like Maharaj was explaining that, like, one time he at the what's it called, the Govardhan Eco Village, I think, that he saw one young American man sitting there, and a young calf came up to him, and then he started petting it, and then and eventually he took it. Eventually he took it on his lap, and he really liked it. And then more calves also came, seeing how nicely this one enjoys, and he was completely overwhelmed by how nice, this beautiful and sweet these calves are. That then at the end, afterwards, he told the others that, because he was not a devotee, he said, now I will, after this experience, I will never ever be able to eat meat again. And anyway, so Maharaj was just to show, like, how simply the sweetness of calves, they convince the person to become vegetarian in one experience. So what to speak of then, if you consider how beautiful and sweet must be the calves of Krishna, and what to speak of calves, all the cowed boys, and Krishna himself, he's the origin of all beauty, of all sweetness. So how can a person, like, that shows how covered we can become, and how that to develop such a great envy of such persons who otherwise would easily melt the heart of anyone. So, and so much so we know Aghasura actually, he even, his plan was to not only kill Krishna, but to kill all the residents of Vrindavan. That's how envious he got. Anyway, so and then, Krishna, we know this demon, he came in the form of a great fighter, and then all the gopas discussed, is it a snake or is it just a playground? And they decided to enter anyway, depending on Krishna's mercy. And then, of course, Krishna got apparently bewildered and showing this rasa of apparently not knowing what to do, even though he's all-knowing. And then also entered himself, expanded himself, and killed the demon, revived the gopas. And so anyway, and afterwards, when they continued their picnic, then we know that the cows were going a bit away from the place into the forest, looking for fresh grass, and that's the time then when Lord Brahma saw them. Like before, he got notice because after the killing of Aghasura, such a ferocious demon, all the demigods celebrated also in the sky, tumultuously, and so much so that Lord Brahma up in his planet, he saw what's going on there. So then he came there on a swan carrier, and then he saw that, okay, Krishna had just apparently killed this demon, lying dead there, but then he's sitting there with the yoga dries in his left hand, and joking with the cowed boys there, apparently like an ordinary boy. So so he got bewildered by that, and so he thought, okay, let me make a scientific what's it called? Forgot the word. Anyway, an experiment to test, is this really the Supreme Lord, or is it just a boy? And so that's why then he apparently stole the calves and all the cowed boys, because Krishna, what happened, Krishna told them, you please be peaceful, continue your breakfast, and I'll quickly go and search for them, bring them back, and you don't need to worry. And so while Krishna was away, then Brahma took all of them. Although it's explained actually he didn't take them. Krishna created some illusory representations of them, which Lord Brahma took, and the others stayed there. And Sanatana Goswami, I think, explains that, but in a way that no one actually could see them. So anyway, and then, we know Lord Krishna, he then expanded himself personally into all these forms, exactly in the same form, and not only in the form, but also in the exact mentality, in the way how they would speak, how they would interact, their sense of humor and everything. And actually, and one point we might easily miss there also is that it's mentioned, I think that in this pastime, especially when in the morning when they went out into the forest, that it was Krishna went with an innumerable number of cowherd boys, and each one of them had a herd of calves, which were also innumerable. So practically unlimited gopas with even more unlimited number of calves. And Krishna expanded personally into each and every one of them, exactly in the same form. And not only form, but character and everything. So, and he did this then so that all the Vrajabasis could enjoy to have the direct association with Krishna, to have him as their son for the elderly gopas and gopis, as well as for the cows. That they would, Krishna in the form of a calf would drink from the udder of the cows, for example. And so and then of course eventually we know after almost 1 year, then Lord Brahma found out, and then after 1 full year, which was for Lord Brahma just 1 moment up in his planet, his time calculation, then he came back to see what happened, and then he saw that Krishna was, that apparently he didn't steal them, and then eventually he surrendered to Krishna, and especially after Krishna, he then exhibited to him that all of them are actually him by transforming them into 400 Vishnu Murtis, as we see on this beautiful picture behind us. And and then again, like we can remember how it was unlimited cowherd boys and calves, and each one of them exhibited the full form of the Lord as Lord Narayan, one of the expansions of Krishna. And each one of them, it's mentioned, was worshipped by all living entities of all different sages, demigods, etc. And so obviously it's completely inconceivable, even for Lord Brahma, who is the most intelligent living being here in this universe. So in this way Lord Brahma got completely bewildered, and in full humility surrendered to Krishna, and then offered such beautiful prayers, which are described in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto. And so one of the early verses, Lord Brahma talks on this topic. And remember, he is the most authoritative person you can say in this universe to talk about how real knowledge is not about exercising your intellect, because after all, he's the first living being coming directly from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu's lotus stem, and his body is made simply of intelligence. So, and he gets the empowerment to create this universe and do so many things. So, how intelligent he must be compared to us. You can't even imagine. What was his realization then at this point? Said, I think it's verse 3. Et shriya sritim bhakti mudasyate vipa klishyantaye kevala bodhalaptaye teshamaso kleshalat eva shishyate nanyatyatastula tashavakatinam. Lord Brahma exclaims that in his prayers in full surrender to Krishna, standing there as a little cowherd boy, and still holding the yogurt sweet rice on his left hand. It's great. So Lord Brahma says how those who give up this supremely auspicious path of bhakti yoga and instead take up to mental speculation, to trying to understand you, they simply undergo trouble. And then he gives the comparison. It's just as someone trying to beat again and again the empty husks and trying to get grains from that. And I heard His Grace Radhesham Prabhu, how he was explaining that this verse is similar to, actually, if you look, we'll go through it then quickly, in the Sanskrit, that just as the famous Harinama verse, which emphasizes so strongly how Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Vakevalam, Kalanastya Vanastiva Vanastiva Gatiranyata, that only the chanting of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name is the only means of deliverance in this age of Kali, the age of hypocrisy and quarrel. And there's no other way, no other way, no other way. Similarly, here, and we know especially it's mentioned in the scriptures, if something is repeated 3 times, then it's really of extraordinary importance. And so, to emphasize. And in the same way, Lord Brahma is saying that in the second line, that Klishyanti ye kevala, the kevala, only they simply undergo a struggle. And then, so that's one, ye kevala, only. And then Tisham also kleshara, they only get misery. Kleshara eva shishyate. All that remains with them is misery. There's no other benefit, no beneficial result. And then in the last line again, none yat, nothing else they get. And then he gives the analogy, yata stula tushavaгаtinam. It's nothing else. It's just like beating an empty husk and trying to get grains. And as Ganesham Prabhu was explaining that, real knowledge, it also means that we have to always consider to apply to us. Otherwise, it's, again, we put it more into the category of mental speculation, or just for, to titillate our intellect. So, like here, Lord Brahma gives such again, remember, he is the most intelligent living being in this universe, and then there he's completely surrendering, and he's exclaiming in ecstasy how, there's really no way to understand you, Krishna, by anything else other by your mercy, by engaging you in your devotional service. And so just as beating an empty husk. And so in the Prabhupada it's explained that to bring it a bit more easy for us to understand how to apply, that it's just so meant thinking that we can have any benefit by trying to understand Krishna with anything other than in a mood of surrender, in a mood of wanting simply to serve Krishna as he wants, is simply like in that way, what we're doing at any time, when we don't try to at least endeavor to act and think and feel in that way, then all we're doing is we're throwing our mind again and again into this mental speculation, just as beating our mind, beating empty husks. So, and then in the verse after that, Lord Brahma then explained what we should rather do, if understanding that there's no benefit in trying to do anything by our thinking ourselves, to do a thinking that we can understand with our own strength. So then he's saying, Yane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam pavadiya varatam stane stita shutikatam tanuman manobir ya prayasho piya chitta chitta asitais trilokyam. Where Lord Brahma explains that we should simply udapasya completely give up this endeavor of simply gyan, of that we can understand by our endeavor the Lord. And rather, what should we do? We should namanta eva. We should offer our obeisances, our full respect to those descriptions of the Lord. Which, how do we get those descriptions of the Lord? Satmukaritam. It comes from the mouth of the Sat, of those people who are actually fully dedicated to the real truth, which is to devotional service, to Krishna, so to devotees. And so what's coming from their mouth all the time? Bhavadiya Vartam. It will always be related to you, Krishna. They won't waste their time in talking about any things which are not related to Krishna. Just as now, I think a few days ago, the World Cup ended right after soccer. And so we would have the tendency of always talking, especially if there's some special event, and talking so much about those things. But you won't hear it from devotees. Many might not even know. If I wouldn't have been randomly in the kitchen yesterday hearing it from others, I still wouldn't know who won the World Cup. So, yeah, because what's the use? Sometimes, some things if we need it for preaching, but to simply invest our mind in that is useless. So from real devotees, Satmukaritam, they will always Bhavadiya Varitam, they will always talk about you, at least related to you, to your devotional service. And so, what's the third line? Okay. Yeah, stanestita, that. So we don't need to, stanestita means remain situated where you are in your social position and your external circumstances. If it's not beneficial, then we might have to change it. But there's the general principle, which means it's not depending on any artificial austerities or endeavor. We might think that, for spirituality I have to be renounced in this way or that way, or do these kinds of austerities. No, you simply stay where you are, and you simply submissively give yourself to your oral reception to this transcendental vibration coming from the mouths of pure devotees. And doing that, then we can conquer the otherwise unconquerable Supreme Lord, Achitta Chitta. How is that? Because we know, even though, like we heard in that pastime a bit of some glimpse of the greatness of Krishna, the unlimited greatness of Krishna, but as Lord Brahma realized there also, how, in fact, what to speak of any material things, but even on the pure devotional platform of pure devotional service, there's still distinctions of those devotees in Vaikuntha, in the mood of awe and reverence, who realize the greatness of the Lord. Yes, they are perfect, but still, there's what he saw just there, what bewildered Lord Brahma, is those loving exchanges of the Lord as Krishna in Vrindavan, where even though he is the origin of everything, he is the supreme, unlimited Lord, that he prefers to, rather being simply worshipped in awe and reverence, he prefers those most intimate dealings with his devotees who serve him, not wanting to think about the greatness of the Lord. There's one later verse where Lord Brahma actually explains that also. The thing, Ata pite deva padam bhachatvaya prasadam lishanu grihita evahi chanati tatvam bhagavan mahimna eknanyatiko pachiram vachinvan. One word missing, I think. So where Lord Brahma then in ecstasy exclaims that those, O Lord, those who are bereft of even leisure, of even a trace of your mercy, of your prasad, they cannot understand you. But if one gets just a trace of the mercy of the Supreme Lord, then one will be able immediately to understand the greatness, Bhagavan Mahimno, in Tattvam, in truth, without any doubts. That's why all of us experience that. When we come to Krishna consciousness, suddenly everything is cleared. Before we you can't have a clear picture. One time you think more like that and like that. Maybe God is like this. Maybe there is no God. But when you get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and this way of Krishna, then this understanding the basic greatness of Krishna immediately in tattva, in truth, very easily we factually know that. This also shows us that yes, the greatness of Krishna, it's important that we realize it even more and more deeply to become really humble and full surrender fully. But ultimately, indirectly, Lord Brahma is expressing there that even much greater than that. For that, you just need a trace of the mercy of Krishna. Those who get the full mercy of Krishna, they are playing with Krishna's cowboys. They have their loving affairs as the gopis or all the other Rajabasis with Krishna. Because Krishna is not so much concerned about getting worshipped. He doesn't have inferiority complex. So I need to hear from others that how great I am. They need to bow down to my lotus feet. No, he prefers to carry other gopas on his shoulders because they defeated him in play, and he prefers to beg the gopis for their love, especially Srimati Radharani, and serving her, and that actually also, but it's not only with those most exalted pure devotees that Krishna wants to be intimate and we can also take how Krishna, that because showing that he doesn't need anything. We know he's like Prahlad Maharaj says, Nevatmana Prabhu Yam Nichalabha Purno, that you're always full. It's only out of your causeless mercy that you accept worship. It's not that he needs it. Like Srila Prabhupada I heard recently in Lilamrita how I think in one installation of Radha Krishna deities, don't remember exactly where or what, but just when a pure devotee like him expresses in such simple words what actually pure devotional service is and what Krishna's mood is like, that he was saying that so now that Krishna is here in this Acha Vigraha form, that never think that he's just a statue and that it's a burden that you have to do arti and whatever. But rather we should understand that then, like I said, in a way that a real devotee, he thinks that like on his mind is always, as sees in the six Goswamis, for example, of the mood of Rajabasis, they were always, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? So Prabhupada was saying, the devotee always thinks, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? And then he sees, oh, here is Krishna, the Acha Vigraha. And he has, obviously pure devotee has full realization of that, but at least we should, understand that. So here is Krishna, and then what do you think next naturally? Then, I'm his humble servant, so what does Krishna want from me? How can I serve him? And I was thinking then further that, so that's someone like Srila Prabhupada, obviously he's an eternally perfect soul who always has his consciousness, has nothing else on his consciousness. But then for someone like us trying slowly to aspire to come to that, so further for us, for me at least, I would think then, here's Krishna, what does he want from me? But then, I'm so impure, I'm not qualified to, even though I know Krishna, he's so personal, he wants to talk to every one of us. He wants directly to have loving exchanges with us. But I'm so impure, I'm not able to hear directly from Krishna. But then Krishna is so merciful and comes in his mercy incarnation as the spiritual master and tells us what he wants. So if you simply surrender to the instructions of the spiritual master, then then we will come to that platform of simply being absorbed in love for Krishna. So Yeah, like there's one other deity installation where Prabhupada very famously revealed also even more apparently this deep love that he has, and what comes along with this deep love is full genius humility, because like we know, like Ganesh Prabhu, I think, was also explaining that that Krishna himself explains to us how the process of knowledge in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in verses 8 to 12, that it is not about intellectual exercise, but there's those different items of knowledge. And it starts off with amanitvam, adambitvam, with humility, with pridelessness. But Ganesh Prabhu explained, I think that was in a class to just the brahmacharis of us, that still the most important quality, as Prabhupada explains there in the purport, is Maichananya Yogana Bhaktir Avyabhicharini. That it's still all useless, the other items which might seem great qualities, if it's not in relation to pure devotion service to Krishna. Like Prabhu was explaining, you might meet people who are apparently very humble, but real humility means knowing yourself always fully dependent on the protection of the Lord, knowing that I'm tiny and the Lord's illusory potency is great, is powerful. I have no power unless Krishna protects me. So, yeah, that's real humility, and Prabhupada, he showed it in that time when he was explaining also about the proper mood of worshipping the deity, that we should never think that we can do them a favor, but it's their great mercy. So yeah, I recommend if anyone can look that up and listen to that. That's like, no matter how stone-hearted we otherwise may be, that very easily melts the heart. How Prabhupada, in great humility, is first he's starting off with explaining how, giving the example of Sanatana Goswami, who in his pure, spontaneous loving relationship was worshipping the Lord, simply offering him chapatis, and the Lord told him, please put some salt also. And Sanatana Goswami told him that what do you expect? I'm a poor mendicant here. I can't afford to beg for more. And then you will ask. Now you ask salt, then you will ask even more other opulent things. So when Prabhupada then says that so Krishna had to take just the chapatis without salt, and this got him fully into the mood of how amazing it is that Krishna all he wants is our love. He enjoys such a chapati without salt dried in the sun, trillions, billions of times more than if we make the greatest arrangements, but if we offer it without love. In fact, he doesn't even accept it if there is no tinge of bhakti. At least, of course, for us, we don't have love, but simply by trying to some extent, sincerely having a desire to reawaken our love, then Radha Gopinath graciously accept whatever we bring, whatever we do, and thus purify our heart. So, I think we're going over time. I'll leave that up to you to listen to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, it's really amazing. So, yes. Yeah, it can be anything. We know sense gratification means anything other than pleasing Krishna. like my Guru Maharaj, he gave some years ago in Melbourne an amazing seminar which I really recommend anyone to listen to. It's called, I think, Love, Lust and Bhakti, where he elaborately talks on this distinction of love and lust, of karma and desire for sense gratification, and of real love, of bhakti. Speaking on Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that amazingly. So, Guru Maharaj was saying that, and there Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he mentions there all the, like, many different items which we otherwise might not think under, which in a narrow sense gratification, we might just think, directly pleasing our gross senses, but no, it's on a subtle level also. So we mentioned still, like, anything, like even philanthropic activities, all of that, if it's not for the pleasure of Krishna, then it's sense gratification. Like, and that's also actually explained there then after Brahma Vimohana Lila, when Maharaj Parikshit exclaims his surprise how it can be that all the gopas and the cows, they had greater love, because it's mentioned that because Krishna personally expanded into their sons and the calves, that their love increased for them more than when it was their actual sons. And why is that? Because yes, they have great love for them also, but ultimately the supreme love is for Krishna. And why is that? Shukadeva Goswami explains that because he builds it up a bit from an understanding first that why is anything dear to us, that it actually only, anything with dear is dear to us only if it's related to ourself, which we in the material world generally think and related to the body. So our own body is dear to us, and that's why then also our relatives are dear to us, and that can extend more and more, that even our nation is dear to us, and so forth. And there then it is explained also that is why actually then we might say people, non-devotees, who are ready to sacrifice so much for some apparently selflessly, like someone might sacrifice his life for some maturely beneficial cause, like many people in history did. And we got, those are like heroes then generally, oftentimes. Because material life is full of selfishness, of seeing some apparently selflessness is inspiring. But then actually that is also not real selflessness, because they do it, by doing that then it pumps out their false egoistic pleasure of thinking, yes, I'm so selfless, I'm sacrificing so much for my nation, for other people, I'm a great person. And obviously that's not real selflessness. But anyway, so coming back to the point, but that's why it's related. Why? Because it's still related somehow or other to the self. But then ultimately the self, what is the self? It's part and parcel of Krishna, so the self of the self is Krishna. And so sense gratification is anything other than that. So Guru Maharaj was saying there in that seminar that we have to understand that in the spiritual world, the ultimate reality is that the focal point, the standard to which around which everything revolves, on which everything is centered, is Krishna's sense gratification. And when we hear that, we might just think, then immediately we feel like the envy swelling up in our heart, right? But Krishna's sense gratification, okay, he might be the Lord, he can enjoy, but what about us, right? Not everything just about Krishna's sense gratification. Sounds like, but then again, coming back, no, it's not that he, like we would, that he needs selfish, you are my inferior, so you serve me, then I feel nice. No, it's his unlimited mercy to enable us, like, he takes greater pleasure in becoming the servant of his devotees, in glorifying his devotees, in giving credit to his devotees. But to come to fully benefit of that, we have to first, it's also his mercy then to take us out of the illusion where we want to get credit. Like even when we perform devotional service, we might still, like in my own case, I went through that a lot, that we become proud. I do so much, and and then thinking, yeah, I should get credit, I should get recognition, and or at least I myself, I feel great. Yeah, I'm serving so much, and that doing that, then it's completely the opposite of what it harmful to us, because we engage in devotional service to become purified and to simply have love for Krishna. But how can we do that if we have still this envy of I want to get credit? Then obviously, again, now I want to come to the point, back to the point that Krishna, he is not he could, like Prabhupada says, he is the best boss. He sees your sincerity, he will give you all facilities. But so because he doesn't need anything from us, this enables him to perfectly reciprocate that. Okay, if someone is hell-bent on, he somehow wants to engage in devotional service apparently, but then he just wants to get the credit for himself. He doesn't understand that is his diseased condition, still his envy. Then it's not that Krishna, no, I don't want to give you credit, I need the credit, that he takes it away, but rather it's out of his extreme compassion that he then will arrange for us to become humbled, like in my case, to say. So that then he will take away the facilities, and if we realize that is all his great mercy, then we can become purified, and when we are ready, he will give full facilities to engage in the service. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry, going over time. Krantarachima Bhaktam Ki Cha, Srila Prabhupada Ki Cha.